Chris, can you start diving us into like, okay, so you had the breakup, you had the marriage, and then somehow you ended up doing Cold Approach in Warsaw.
Okay, so maybe I should talk about my experience while I was still living in the UK first. So I still didn't have a lot of confidence about myself. It wasn't like I went from like, I am worthless to, oh, I'm like a Chad. Like I didn't have any sort of rapid transformation like this. I was still figuring out how people related to people. I was effectively 31 years old, one sexual partner, and that was virtually nothing. There was just like maybe I could count I can't remember exactly. Maybe I can count on both hands how many encounters that was in 7 years. So I was effectively like a 31-year-old almost virgin. So there was a lot of catching up for me to do. First of all, some things happened with girls that I knew through the dance world that like were just friends that things happened with. And that started to give me some confidence with women. During this time, I'm also using the dating apps, and I'm not finding a lot of quality on those in the UK, in Wales, where I was from. Like, I remember sometimes I'd go to a date and she'd use photos from like 5 years ago, and she's like tripled in size. I'm like, where's my date? Did you eat her? And it was like
unintended on being in Wales, right?
yeah, absolutely. And it was so like I didn't feel like I had many options. So it was through social circles that I actually met the most attractive women that I had something to click with. But I never got into a relationship. It never went that far. I was still very needy, still figuring out where I stood in the world. And I guess during my marriage, I thought I was an ugly, horrible person no one could love. And I started to realize girls were actually attracted to me. Some were attracted to me. And it was maybe not as rare as I thought it was when I was much younger. And I guess I wasn't sure what to do with it. Like sometimes a girl would be giving me signs of interest, but I wouldn't act on them because I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe she's just being friendly or something. And I was totally uncalibrated. I would have said I was still very blue pill. I was still very emotional. Like I can even if I listen to some of my old voice notes from back then, my voice even sounds feminine. Like the pitch of my voice is higher, and I'm like, what the hell? So I was not really in my masculine energy. But I moved to Poland. Eventually, first of all, I was in one city, and then I moved to Warsaw. And soon after I moved to Poland, I started getting into Tantra or Neo Tantra, which is all about expressing your genuine emotions, of savoring every experience and every moment. And I had an experience at the first Tantra camp I did. Like there was this emotional expression exercise where you're meant to like get really, really angry and you like hit pillows and stuff like this. And I just couldn't do it because my nice guy programming says you're not allowed to be angry. So it was like I'm trying to bring it up, and then it just goes back down again, and it doesn't come out. But the next day in the debrief session, I said something like, I think my life is based on crap. And at that point, I went out. The guy who was running it asked one of the helpers to take me out and talk to me. And we did this emotional expression exercise again. And I actually did get angry. And it was like I was beating the shit out of this pillow as if like I was just pure rage. And for someone who wasn't allowed to feel anger, that was like so like weird for me. But in that moment, I felt like I was ritually murdering the false self that I'd built of this super nice emotional guy who wouldn't hurt anyone. And from that point on, I was able to be much more honest with my intentions with women. I remember when I got back, I was dancing and there was like 3 girls that I I found attractive. And I was just in a state completely still uncalibrated, but this time able to be authentic. And I said, if you girls weren't already with someone, I would definitely want to have sex with you. And they somehow it was still taken as as a
A compliment.
positive
Yeah.
compliment. I just said, yeah, you're absolutely beautiful. And I don't recommend this of
Mm,
being this direct. This is like
okay. Mode one.
-1. This is not mode
Mode
-1.
-1.
But I think that's reaching that part of me to be totally honest. And sometimes, there's a time and a place for it when the situation calls for it. But reaching that ability to be fully honest, that set me up so that when I did finally do Cold Approach with Troy and Tusk in 2020, I think it was, that it was just like cracking the egg. Like I had this programming from growing up in the UK that if you approach a woman, it's harassment and they will all hate it. And
Yeah.
in reality, no, like 99% of my approaches were received positively. Even if she had a boyfriend, it made her day for someone to say that she looked beautiful and
Yes.
that or that she seemed interesting or something about her, or she had great fashion sense or whatever else it was. Like
Yeah.
these interactions were just bringing really positive energy, and they weren't done in a way of like, oh, can I get your number? But it
Mm,
was, this is what I see, like with these eyes and this mind that nature has given me, or God or the universe or whatever. I see this beauty in you, and
mm.
that was often a way of creating real, genuine connections. And I met and dated some really amazing women this way. And obviously, the thing that most people notice when they come to somewhere like Poland is it's like the average is like 2 points higher than the West. So,
Yep.
like I
Nowhere
previously
worse.
dated some, yeah, I previously dated some Polish girls like through dating apps as I was like traveling. But obviously, it was like I tried to do some long distance thing once, but
Yeah.
that only lasted a couple of months. But what I noticed is like when I'm in Poland, what I would class as like this is the prettiest girl in the town is like pretty much average here.
Bro.
And I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's like the West has no influence, because I think 7 years ago, like on hardly any young girl looked overweight, but now you do see it. So I
Mm,
think there is an influence. Like everyone has TikTok, everyone has Instagram, so these
mhm.
things are coming across. But I think there's also still a much more traditional, much more healthy masculine feminine dynamic here. And that has been something that, it's been a good place. Like I said before, it's been a good place for me to learn what it is to be a man, and to
Mm,
learn what it is to relate to women, to be the strong rock that they can be. They
yeah.
can be emotional if they need to be, and they can rely on me. My life is so much more beautiful because
Mm.
of who I've become from moving here.
That's beautiful, man. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing all that. It's great to hear like a success story and how you've grown over the few years of doing this. I can relate to a ton of that, and especially the traditional women in Poland. Like when I came to Poland last year for the first time, for the sole reason of dating, and I had that same awakening, just realizing like, wow, like I go up to like a girl who was the hottest girl in our whole town growing up, and she's smiling and laughing and like being sweet, and I was just like, it was almost like I had some calibration to do, so I didn't get maybe the results I would have liked, because there's like when that would happen, I would almost be like, whoa, like what's going on? So like they could just tell, I didn't have the experience, but it's still like I was able to go through it without any trouble, without getting put on TikTok, like which a lot of guys fear. So we see that a lot with our clients. Like they start doing approaches here, and they're like, that's one of their biggest fear. Like people are going to be laughing at them, a circle's going to form around them, and people are going to start throwing stones at them. And they realize like, one, no one cares, like you're just doing your thing, everyone's minding their own business. And two, they get great reactions. Like the women stop, they smile at them. One of our clients, Amir, he had that same situation. Like I think it was our first day of approaching, and he was, God forbid, terrified. Like it was actually quite adorable. He goes up to the first girl and he has, the script we taught him to at least get from start to finish. And, he's like, Hola, do you speak English? She's like, oh, see. And he just goes, he just walks away. Like she like looked at him, she smiled at him, he just like walked away, nothing else. And towards the end of it though, he's getting some more, he's getting more comfortable. And he goes up to this woman and she was in a relationship, he had a boyfriend. But he did the line and they had a good conversation. And she was just like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, this was really like nice. Like, I really appreciate you doing this. This felt really good. And he's just like, holy crap, like I can make women feel good and
Yeah.
they can be married, right? Like, just to your point. So he left with like an awakening, just being like, wow, like I'm not this like creepy dude that's like repulses women. Like, in fact, women that are even in a relationship, and he obviously didn't go for the number or try to close or anything because he's, we respect if a woman's in a relationship. But he just realized like, holy crap, I have a lot more value what I used to think.
Yeah,
That was really
and
powerful.
that's something that was like the thanks you get was not something I initially
Mm,
expected. I thought it would be something that would be tolerated, but to be thanked and to be told, "Oh, I wish more men did this. It was really brave of you." I mean, I remember one woman I approached who's I just want to say, "You've got beautiful eyes," and she's like, "Oh, thank you. You've got beautiful eyes too." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice." Like I didn't like it was just like, "Whoa, this is like." I didn't expect it to be that positive. I just
yeah,
thought you
right.
would just be tolerated.
Mm,
And
mhm.
like even when they have boyfriends, it's like they are saying yes, more men should do this. And
Yeah.
so yeah, don't listen to angry women on the internet who
Mhm,
try to speak for all women. Yeah, I'm sure there are some women who absolutely don't want to be approached, but
mhm.
for the vast majority, it if you do it in a kind, heartfelt, honest way, it is it is a gift and it's well received.
If you do it, like you said, with honesty and intention, in the West, you can still get results for sure. What I found though is the difference because I learned my whole cold approach in the States in like a liberal progressive town in Wisconsin. So, where it was basically all white people. And there, it was very like, there was no racism, but there was like totally
Mm,
racism at the same time. Like no one wanted to admit it. So most of the girls I dated in the States were actually like of some either Asian descent, Mexican. Like this one girl was like half black, half Irish. So it's like I only maybe dated a few like actual like white girls. And what I found is that they would be polite and they would because the approach was good enough to where they wouldn't be like disgusted or weirded out or anything like that. But when I came to Poland, I found I actually got results from doing the same thing
mhm.
because like you said, like women in more traditional countries actually like respect and appreciate that because there was still in the West when I would do approach, there was still that energy of like, oh, this guy's what's this guy doing? Like why does he need to do this? There was judgment behind it, even though they
Mhm.
were polite and were like, hey, no thanks. But then when you go to Poland, they were like excited about it. They were or in
Yeah,
Mexico as well.